Hey, good Saturday morning. It is Behind the Bracket here on StriveSports.com. Eric Allgood, Tony Chapman, Mike Sautter. We've been doing this a while, and it is time for some more football brackets. Last week we talked 8-man matchups. That round is now complete, and we are on to the 11-man and 6-man bracket reveals. They finished up their regular seasons, for some on Thursday, most everybody else last night. 8-man had the round of 32, first round, however you'd like to call it, was there on Thursday night, and so their brackets have been out. So we'll talk about those a little bit later, but we've got results from last night that kind of shifted some things around, as always happens when you get those district champions. A team that is fighting for a playoff spot wins that game last night, makes their way into the playoffs, come up here this morning. So we always kind of take the show a little bit on the fly, and however we get the brackets is how you will get the brackets as well. So the first two brackets that we've got that we can begin to talk about, the first one is the 6-man bracket. So in Class D6, Hoosier, let's talk about this thing. Let's show it here because we've got SEM as the number 1 seed playing host to Juanita Palisade. You'll see Layton against Diller Odell.
Let's go.
That is not a short drive whatsoever. And 6-man, it's funny because we've got some that are all over the place, and we've got some that are kind of shorter. Red Cloud hosting Potter Dix. Garden County hosting Southwest. That's about one of the shortest drives, right? Stewart in a rematch with Hampton. The Hawks are back in the playoffs. Arthur County and Wallace. Not a terrible drive in the Panhandle there. Silver Lake and Ansley Litchfield, and then Hay Springs and Sioux County. Also not a terrible drive in that first round, but somebody is going to Hay Springs later on, and we'll talk about that when we get a little deeper into the bracket part of the show. But Tony, I want to start with you. Just kind of some first thoughts with SEM and Hay Springs. Yep. Hay Springs and Arthur County played last night, trying to kind of get to that 2 spot, and Hay Springs won pretty good on the scoreboard anyway. So let's talk about what those matchups look like.
Yeah, I think what we've seen with our 6-man rankings that Mike and I have done throughout the year for NEB Preps is that everybody thinks SEM and Hay Springs are going to play again. So they're the top 2 seeds, both undefeated. Both have been really dominant. I think that result last night, the Hay Springs 60-14 win over Arthur County, is the one that just kind of says that maybe what that gap is between those two teams. So you look there, then you go down to Stewart at the 3. Stewart and Hay Springs, if they were to match up. Stewart played Sumner Indieville Millard about 36-33 earlier this year. So you really like, I think, SEM on the top half of that bracket. Hay Springs and Stewart on the bottom half of that bracket are the teams that jump out at you.
Mike, your thoughts from the 8-man ranks? That's a lot better.
Yeah, look over there. Right. Tony's Hampton Hawks get in at 14, so that's always good.
That's a tough rematch. Stewart is really good.
Yeah.
They're, as one-loss teams go, they're probably the best one-loss team in 6-man. And so you look at that one, and that's a tough matchup for Hampton, but very cool to see the Hawks.
Yeah, SEM Hay Springs they've been the top 2, like Tony said,
and that was a fantastic football game last year. We were at, you had.
Looks like it'll be, again.
Hay Springs scores late. They go for the 2-point kick to win the game, and SEM blocks it.
Right.
So you've got a couple. Hay Springs, Sioux County is a rematch, 69-19, about week 4. Silver Lake and Ansley Litchfield played early in the year, game 2. Silver Lake won that game 34-14. Those are the ones I kind of caught just off the top of my head. I think, Stewart Hampton's a rematch. I think there's a few more than that even in this bracket. And so remember, too, guys, this one's different. If people are looking at the points, this one's different than all the others in that they have districts in D6, but there's no automatic qualifiers. They take the top 16 points straight down the line, and that's who's in the playoffs. So,
we've talked obviously a lot about SEM and Hay Springs. Tony, is Stewart your dark horse?
Well, I mean, I think Stewart's a team that you would think is certainly, obviously, by their seed and by just how they played this year, that's a team that can go to the semifinals. I think a Stewart Hay Springs semifinal is very intriguing. And then over on the other side, Garden County Red Cloud, a possible second-round matchup there. Could be interesting, but man, SEM looks like they're probably a cut above cut above everybody else there in on that side of the bracket, but got to put their shoulder pads on and play them all. So we'll see how it goes.
Bus rides, when you get in the
Garden
playoffs,
County
they become a thing.
Yeah,
then too.
Garden County Red Cloud's super easy, as well.
Yeah, it's a short
Right.
It's a short one. Garden County, man. We went to Gehring for state golf, and you drive right through Oshkosh, right?
Yeah, right.
That's one of the coolest fields, right on the highway there. Big American flag on the stand. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, 6-man football is the best, by the way.
All right. It is something.
You got to get ready to tackle.
You got it's in some ways it's the purest form of football. If you can block and run and tackle, you can probably score as many points as you want.
Pitchy, woo woo. Just
Right.
throw it around.
Oh, it's fun stuff. All right, let's move on to the other bracket that we have, and that is jumping up into the 11-man classes in Class C2, where Norfolk Catholic and Bishop Neumann, they've been at the top all year. There's just some really good football players on those two teams, and they're going to potentially have another matchup when they get back to Lincoln. But a lot of football to get into there first. Ord will go to Norfolk Catholic first as the 16. Lincoln Lutheran travels to Newman for the 2 versus 15. Then to go on that right side of the bracket, Cedar Catholic will host Oakland Craig. I love the if we were back in the mid-'90s, these teams didn't change at all. Battle Creek and Aquinas will play each other, the 3 versus 14. Bottom right on the bracket there, Malcolm, the 6th seed, will host Mitchell, so Mitchell gets the big bus ride. To go straight across on the left side, you got Wood River, district champs. What a story they've been. It's been tough the last couple years, but now they're the 5 seed in the playoffs, hosting Donovan Trumbull. Valentine is the 4 seed. They will host Kearney Catholic. Boone Central, who is the defending C1 champions in C2 this year, they host Raymond Central. And then, like we said at the top, Norfolk Catholic and Ord. It's hard not to, for media people like us, to just go, well, it's going to be Newman and Norfolk Catholic, but there's still a lot of good teams, and there's going to be some really good football played outside of just those 2 games throughout the bracket. Mike, I want to start with you.
Yeah, just Ord sneaking in, young team and kind of getting in. It's
super young. I mean, like 2 seniors. Nate's done such a fantastic job this year, and that win against Boone Central on Thursday night
got them in.
Yeah,
basically.
it wins them they're in as a district champ. Obviously, if you looked at the points this morning, they're 17th behind GICC, who is 16th, but lost the. And GICC beat Ord, but it went to the 3-way tiebreaker, and GICC losing to St. Paul, who was only 1-7 coming in last night, and so that knocked GICC out of the playoffs.
First round rematches, Cedar Catholic and Oakland Craig played in week 8, and it was 28-23. They're obviously very familiar with each other, and then. I don't know, Boone, Raymond Central is interesting because Raymond Central's coming, right? And Boone lost a lot from last year's state championship team, but still Thomas Roberts is there, and obviously they're a tough physical team. Yeah, that just looking at first round matchups, that Oakland Craig Cedar game that'll be pretty fun, and Battle Creek and Aquinas forward passing will be optional, maybe.
Not needed. Not needed.
So that one's interesting. It's also kind of good to see Aquinas in after playing 8-man forever,
right,
and making their way up. So I think the traditional names of Norfolk Catholic and Ord playing each other is kind of cool, and they played last year in the final, and so that's good. And Malcolm Mitchell has that the longest bus trip, but Lincoln Lutheran getting in is something too, which they've had a decent year too. So
3-6 for Lincoln Lutheran. People are going to talk about this. Yeah. Why do we get 3-6 teams in? Yeah. Lincoln Lutheran's 6 losses are to all 6 playoff teams, and they have one of their 3 wins is against Donovan Trumbull,
right.
Which basically is the game that gets them in. But the other thing, I actually, quite honestly, I'm lying to you. They've got some C1 games that gave them some extra points, and so they lost to Lincoln Christian first game of the year, and so it's just kind of how that shakes out. So. But we got it. So that bottom left side of the bracket there, where you're kind of in the non-traditional C2 names there. Valentine Kearney
KC,
Catholic is a direct rematch. They played last night. It's 2014 for Valentine. Yeah. So, if you're Coach Harvey, you're probably like okay with that matchup.
It was in Valentine.
It was
right?
in Valentine.
Yeah.
So it'll be another trip to Valentine for Kearney Catholic. So you almost basically got 2 of the same weeks right in a row. And then I think too, if you're Doniphan Trumbull, they got up 16-7 last night against Wood River, and then Wood River really clamped down on defense there. Wood River's got a running back, I believe Bo Rorick is his name. He had 248 yards last night on 33 carries. He's had 4 games of 200 yards or more, and so this one's really cool. Again, as Eric said, Wood River's 1-8 last year. I mean, it's been a long time. They have not won a playoff game since 1996, and so this is I love that kind of bottom left quadrant where one of those 4 teams is going to be in the semifinals. I don't know how good it goes against likely Norfolk Catholic, but I think any of those 4 teams truly could make a run to the state semifinals in a couple weeks here, which is kind of neat. I think they're all probably kind of a little bit excited for that option that's out there. So Mitchell had a really pretty good year out west, and so I think that Mitchell-Malkin game, I think people always kind of say, oh well, somebody's coming from way out west, but Mitchell beat Kearney Catholic a couple weeks ago, and so I don't know that I'd necessarily count Mitchell out, but their bus, their gas budget, if they win, they'll probably come back to play Battle Creek. So could have a few road trips if you're Mitchell, but I'm sure they'd be looking forward to more than one. So
on the Wood River thing, I mean, remember it was 3 years ago? It was Wood River Shelton.
It was co-op.
Right.
Yeah.
The
so
Silverbacks.
The best
the greatest
nickname ever.
logo.
It's
yeah,
amazing.
Totally
I
agree.
I actually have the T-shirt.
Yeah.
So. But think about that, right? They were 1-8.
Right.
And like a couple of years ago in a co-op, and now, breaking through and being a 5 seed is kind of cool. But C2, I mean, it's traditional names are in there. And, if you get a Boone Raymond Central is pretty interesting.
It's really intriguing for me. I agree with you. I agree with you because I think Raymond's maybe a little better than people.
He's done a nice job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Building the program.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
You get a Norfolk. It's all, that northeast Nebraska quadrant of C2 football
You look
is always a thing.
Yeah, and you look at Norfolk Catholic. So the last 3 weeks, they beat Battle Creek, Oakland Craig, Cedar Catholic. So I think they might be ready.
Yeah.
And then I think in the non-district, then they play Newman week 1, and I feel like they beat another playoff
Norfolk
team.
Catholic played Newman week 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I feel like they beat another playoff team. I can't place it. It might have been Aquinas. Did they maybe beat Aquinas week 2? Oh no, they beat Boone. They beat Boone week 2. So they 5 playoff teams that they've already beat. They beat the 2. They beat the 3. I think they're probably ready to go.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I was at that Newman Norfolk Catholic game.
Really good football.
It was a good game.
Yeah.
And Connor Booth doing what he's done this year has been tremendous. But Norfolk Catholic, like Max Hammond is such a weapon for Norfolk Catholic. He just kind of does a lot. Kicker and all that, receiver, can run. They have really good athletes, and obviously Coach Beller's won,
a few
12 state titles.
He's
so
okay,
he does a good
right?
job.
He knows what he's talking
I mean, it's you look ahead obviously when you get a bracket like this, and if you can, a Norfolk Catholic Newman rematch would be fun, because of the star power, if you will. But
Battle Creek, man.
Yeah,
They've just done such a good job this year.
Battle Creek and Oakland and Cedar, like that side is really tough.
Yep.
Like it's clearly the harder side in my opinion. And you strap it up because Battle Creek, if they can get there, they're big and strong and physical. A lot of familiarity with those teams too, and
mouthpieces and both chin straps.
It's your Newman that can run the ball. It's obviously run game is going to be important.
I think always too what always gets me with Norfolk Catholic is it's traditional eye. Coach Beller does such a great job, but I always feel like with Norfolk Catholic, he gets you, much like Tom Osborne did, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a game in the play action game, and you're just never, ever ready for it. And you go, oh, touchdown. And they're so good. Obviously, he's such a great coach. He's got great players, but they get you so good in the play action game that it'll be good. Yeah, man. The Norfolk Daily News boys, they'll be
busy.
They'll be ready for this C2 bracket.
All right, we have got more brackets. We want to talk more about some of the players that we'll see. We've talked a little bit, but we've got some obviously great coaches, great teams. We're going to talk players later, but we've got more brackets to make and reveal on Behind the Bracket. That's coming up next.
At Strive Education, we understand that the world is digital and that teaching digital media and broadcasting in the classroom can be overwhelming.
That's where we step in. We offer personalized coaching and innovative curriculum, guiding educators to integrate these critical skills into their teaching.
Our programs transform classrooms into future-ready environments, ensuring students are well-equipped for the ever-evolving digital workforce.
To learn more about how we can serve you, go to strive.education today.
It's thanks to you that we're where we are today. We're proud to watch these communities grow because they're our communities too. Our neighbors, our friends, it's where we live. These are all our hometowns. And no matter what, the people who will continue to serve your needs with the hometown support you know and trust are just down the street. Cornerstone Bank, growing together.
Did you know that the #1 reason officials quit is because of verbal abuse from parents and fans? We are losing officials, and we need everyone to respect the ref.
Judges help students to find their voice and become lifelong supporters of the arts. Without these individuals, NSAA activities would not be possible.
I cannot participate in the activities that I love without these officials and judges. So please let the players play, let the coaches coach, let the officials officiate, and let the judges judge.
Limitless. When you believe there's no limit to what you can achieve. You come to Midland for an education, but you will leave with so much more. We're a small campus with big opportunities, and whatever you need, we'll help you succeed. At Midland, it's your future, your way, with our support every day. Midland University. It's bold, it's an experience, it's family, it's limitless.
By having good sportsmanship, we recognize the hard work and commitment of all teams participating. How we act when we compete also shows who we are as people.
Sportsmanship is going the extra mile to earn the respect of everyone in attendance.
Sportsmanship shouldn't just be on the court, it should also be in the stands and everywhere you go.
Good sportsmanship makes competing in any event more fun, but it comes from more than just the athlete. It comes from parents and coaches too.
Pump up your day.
Pump up my day.
Pump up my day.
Pump up my day.
With Pumped Up Rewards, you can save big on every gallon of gas just by fueling up, and even more by visiting our stores.
Do I have to?
No, just sign up. It's automatic.
Okay, good.
Sign up today at pumpandpantry.com.
Go get it, Zach!
Behind the bracket on StriveSports.com, Eric Allgood, Tony Chapman, Mike Sautter. We've got more 11-man brackets to reveal. D6 and C2, got through those. We're ready for everybody else in Class A. So let's get to it with C1, first of all, where Sydney has jumped up to that number 1 spot in the points. So Sydney takes the 1 seed, and this got Mike to even get a little riled up. Wahoo as the 3 seed. Yeah, that's how the points work. Ashland Greenwood with the 1 loss will take the 2 seed. They will host Milford. Auburn hosting O'Neill. There's your fun drive in C1. And we've got Wahoo against DC West. Boys Town has had a nice year. They will host Cozad. Central City and Fort Calhoun in that 5-12 game. The Battle for Columbus is going to have part 2 with Lakeview hosting SCOTUS. And then you've got Chadron and Lincoln Christian in Chadron. And, of course, then Sydney and Roncalli. We've got some fun ones there in the top left of that bracket. But, Mike, we'll start with you because, Wahoo is a 3 seed. That's like, bracket-wise, is like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, kind of new. I mean, looking at the points coming into, today and this week, you knew that they could be anywhere from the 2 to 4. I think, my opinion, and call me east side of the state bias if you want, but Wahoo's clearly the best team in C1, and they're the 3 seed. So
I live in Grand Island, and I've seen Wahoo play, and that's probably fine to say.
Yeah, I just, and if you're going to look ahead, right, let's just say seeds hold, Wahoo Ashland in a semifinal will be tremendous.
In Ashland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That they don't have enough room there for everybody. They're gonna have to bring in some bleachers or something.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it's a great. That might be where I end up that night if that happens. And then the opposite side of that is the Lakeview SCOTUS rematch. They just played
3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
yep.
And it was really close. Rivalry. The no love lost thing. All of that is baked in that one. So. And Central City, Fort Calhoun. Fort Calhoun's had a nice year.
Yeah.
Coach Bird's done a really good job there building that program. So that could be points aplenty in that one.
Central City's 8-1. The game they lost, they scored 50.
Yeah,
maybe
it's overtime. Yeah,
to Cozad actually over there.
Yeah, and I want to go back over Boys Town, Cozad. Boys Town,
they're good.
Listen, Darian Whitaker is a stud. He is him playing C1 football is a sight to behold, to be honest. He's frankly, he's at K-State this weekend for an official visit. So he's that good. And they've done, again, a really good job. So Nairi Poteet's their quarterback that runs around and a really good athlete. So that one's a little interesting. That Roncalli going out to Sydney. Alex Doty has had a really good year. Landon Riddle is another guy, receiver there for Sydney. Sydney's kind of, if they can get Wahoo, if they can make it, and if Wahoo can beat Ashland, meet in the final. I remember last year watching, I think it was a semifinal or quarterfinal, I can't remember.
Semifinals.
At Wahoo,
yeah.
Sydney,
Yep.
and Wahoo kind of handle them a little bit.
Sydney was a team last year in the playoffs that we were kind of like, and they just kind of kept winning, and then, of course, they ran into Wahoo, but even that Wahoo game played really good defense against Wahoo. So.
And our coaches poll, Sydney and Wahoo have been 1 and 2 basically all year. So, but Ashland gets a shot, them to maybe get a shot, right? And then Auburn and Ashland, that's a rematch if they end up playing, and Ashland kind of handled them early. It was weeks ago, so a lot of time has passed since then. But Chadron, Lincoln Christian, you're going to see, again, forward pass optional. Quinn Bailey is a stud. He's putting up ridiculous numbers for Chadron, and Lincoln Christian, that story, right, with coach there is pretty cool. So long trip for Lincoln Christian, but that's okay.
They will embrace that trip.
Yeah,
I can
absolutely.
tell you that much.
Yeah.
I got the chance to see Lincoln Christian play last week, and if you saw the newsletter, had a lot of comments. I mean, what they're doing this year for their coach, and those players are good. And if you like watching just teams overachieve, they're a team that has overachieved in their system. Coach Earl, told me we're more Army than Army. If you like watching Army.
Army's really Armying.
Yeah, they're Armying, and Lincoln Christian is Armying and Navying their way through this season. You look at their losses. I think Coach Earl would probably tell you they feel like they could be 9-0. I mean, they had a lead against Auburn. Central City scored with, I think, about 45 seconds left to beat them 52-50 at Central City. And then I just look at the other fun thing I think Lincoln Christian might have had this year. They almost felt like their district was Central City and Adams Central and Aurora, and they had all these Central Nebraska teams. So it was really kind of cool. But Coach Hubert in Central City, I think I don't know if they've surprised themselves, but I would put them on the top of my surprise list. I think that 8-1 for them, really good. And Mike, I happen to watch. I don't do this very often, but I watched the replay of that Lakeview SCOTUS fourth quarter on YouTube that SCOTUS put up, and it was back and forth, 26-22, and SCOTUS is driving to win the game and throws an interception in the end zone with about 15 seconds left, and so that'll be a fantastic a fantastic football game on Friday night. Flip back over to Wahoo. Kip Brigham is he's pretty good. They've got a lot of athletes around him though, and I mean, goodness sakes, they beat DC West 50-0 in the regular season. So that kind of just gives you maybe an idea of DC West really good. Had a great season, made the playoffs last year, and gosh, that's where Wahoo is. So, Mike, does Wahoo Boys Town intrigue you just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, they played, right?
I don't know that they did. Am I wrong there? I don't think they did.
I might be wrong on that, but I thought they did.
Wahoo's schedule up. They did not play.
They didn't?
Wahoo did not play.
Oh, Wahoo Boys Town played Ashland, maybe.
Yes,
Is
correct. And Boys Town played Ashland. That was the game I was thinking of.
Wahoo won against Ashland Greenwood in week 2, 28-14.
Yeah, obviously close. But back to Wahoo because I think they're very good. Noah Bodorski's a guy. I mean, you have Kip Brigham. Noah Bodorski's like your backup, which he's averaging 80 yards a game rushing, and he's a stud athlete. They're very good. Harrison Krieger had, I think, 15 tackles the other night. Or Caden Smart's good. I mean, they're big up front. They're super experienced. I think losing last year in the final really kind of motivated them, and kind of the way they did, right? If you remember that Boone, they lost to Boone in that game, and I haven't been able to see them. I've tried 4 or 5 times to see Wahoo this year and haven't been able to do it. But I watched them in practice, and they just fly around. Yeah. Super well coached. Defensively, they're really good, and it'd be hard for me. It's hard for me to see them not I've said this publicly multiple times about Wahoo, and yes, I'm just going to keep hammering Wahoo here. Them versus Bennington would be fun. I would like that game. I just defense and athletes running around. So I'm not predicting anything, but I just. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Coach Fox and what he's doing
Fox,
there.
Great dude. We talk about the points and why they're the 3 seed, Mike. So Ashland Greenwood's the only Division I win. Right. The only other win, you play who they scheduled, but the only other teams in the playoffs that they beat were DC West 50-0 and Fort Calhoun 57-7. So they schedule Aurora. You think Aurora's probably going to be pretty good. Aurora has just maybe a slightly down year, and so their division points don't work out. But the teams they played have kind of been 6-3, 3-6, 4-5, 5-4, and so they don't have that 50-point win except Ashland Greenwood, where Ashland Greenwood and Sydney have a couple more of those wins.
Yeah.
So.
And AG, I mean, to their credit,
that was a tight, close football game until 4 minutes left. It was tied, wasn't it?
Yeah, Coach Thompson is not an idiot and does a great job. So,
that's a glowing endorsement, Mike.
Yeah, I mean he's pretty good. And Thomas Spears just tackles everything. Leads them in receiving, and Derek Tonjes has come along.
Yeah.
Ashland had to rebuild a lot from they lost a ton, including a quarterback and some linemen. I mean, they've done a really good job getting to the 2 seed and having a shot here. And like I said, Derek Tonjes is their quarterback, and first year starter. Rough kind of go, maybe a little bit at the beginning, but he's come along pretty well. So, and Cale Smith has had to kind of step up and be their running back. They lost Zimmerman last year. I mean, Ashland lost a lot, and to see them get the 2 seed is just a credit to kind of how they've come along. One story too here is O'Neill is like,
Brock's done a great job there this year.
That's them being unbeaten until
Lakeview
last night. Is good, and Auburn has that one loss, and they're the 7 seed. You can't really, their district is what it is. So, and they got some good athletes there too. I think that'd be good.
We want to move on to Class B. We could talk a lot about all of these teams, I think, here. But let's go to B and let's reveal the bracket here, because Bennington does take the 1 seed. Seward ahead of Scott Catholic for the 2 and the 3. So Bennington the 1 hosting Northwest. Seward is the 2 hosting Pius. And then to stay on that right side, Gering hosting Gretna East.
I love it so much.
Omaha Scott Catholic hosting York. Waverly hosting Norris. To the other side, then, you've got the matchup at Elkhorn Stadium, as North will be the home team against Elkhorn High. Scottsbluff hosting Gretna, and then Hastings hosting McCook. And yes, if you that stands out right away, Gretna at Scottsbluff, Gretna East at Gering. I don't know if they'll ride the buses together, but they should be traveling pretty much at the same time, right?
No. I'm not so sure they're going to
follow each other.
Follow each other.
I don't know.
Leave near the same time. No?
They like to talk about one community and all that, but I don't think they're that close. There's a mutual respect. I know that. And that game last night, the Gretna East game was great. Came down to a field goal, and so yes, it's fun to kind of see like teams actually have to travel out west a little bit and play. And I know the people on the east side of the state don't like that and think it's whatever. But when the teams from the west always have to travel, no one ever says anything. So the one thing here is rematches. And I look to Elkhorn, North Elkhorn. Guys, that game was 17-14.
Yep.
Elkhorn beat them in the regular season.
Yeah.
And Elkhorn ran the ball.
Yep.
I remember looking at stats of that. It was, I think Elkhorn High had a 1 yard a carry thing, and Elkhorn North had just over 1 yard a carry per carry, and Elkhorn High had something like 4 per carry. Rivalry, obviously, within the same school district. It'll probably be the late game on at Elkhorn Stadium. And then Waverly Norris, that's a rivalry.
It's become one, hasn't it?
No, yeah, it for
much.
sure is. And I think that's another very intriguing, good game. Scott the 3. Wow. And then I go up Seward. Treston Haas, their quarterback, is really good. He's really good.
Really good.
Saw him in June. Loved him.
Saw him in October.
He's really good. He's good. And Pius is sneaking at 15. That's a little scary kind of team at 15.
35-0 week 3 for Seward in
Yeah.
that game. So, but I think Pius has got better.
Yeah, a little bit.
They played really well last night.
Last night it was a close game.
They played Waverly, all the way to the end. I would just say, Mike, I saw Seward play Northwest first Friday in October, and you see Northwest at 4-5. They're getting better. Northwest has won their last 3 games after that loss. They beat York, but the difference when you're 9-0 and when you're 4-5 or 5-4 is that game's tied at the half. Mm-hmm. Northwest played really well the first half. Northwest drives all the way down the field to start the second half and is going to take the lead, and they've got 4th and a yard, and Seward only let them get a foot.
Yeah.
And then Seward went down and scored. And then there was a couple special teams blunders, and that's the plays you make when you're 9-0. And so Coach Opfer, I think, that maybe one of the great coaching jobs this year in Class B. So the other one, I'm just intrigued by Scottsbluff Gretna. I mean, if the people of Gretna want to know what they're going to get, they're going to play football in one of the coolest stadiums in Class B, maybe in the state. Like McCook and Scottsbluff are just way up there for me. And you know as well as I, Coach Hall, the line is all of a sudden it's a Scottsbluff line again. I mean, I watched them play Northwest week 1, and those dudes rolling out there are 6 foot plus, all of them, and they're all 235 plus, and they're good. And Nate Kelly's one of the best athletes in Class B,
for sure.
without question. So Scottsbluff is really intriguing to me. That loss is a single point on an extra point.
Yeah, to Seward.
Seward, and so
I was going to bring that up when we were talking about Seward, about how they went out there and that was a battle. It was really tough game, and they came away with a win. So,
boy, a Scottsbluff Elkhorn North quarterfinal game, or even Elkhorn. I mean, any of those teams, and Scottsbluff's got to get by Gretna too. I mean, it's not like Gretna's going to go out there and be afraid. But I think, Mike, you said maybe that their defense is kind of struggling to stop the run a little bit.
I'm trying to look it up here. Can't find it quick enough.
Hastings McCook is a rematch. 38-23. Hastings won that game earlier this year. So,
yeah, I do know this, that Gretna has been ran on all year. Their run D hasn't been great the whole year. And what does Scottsbluff do? They don't really forward pass it very often.
But they can, which I think makes them harder to stop their run, because at any time Nate Kelly can get in the play action game. But like Coach Hall said to me week 1, he goes, we have 2 tight ends, but they're kind of just extra tackles. That's kind of how they're going to play football.
Scottsbluff probably won't need to throw the ball very much in that game, is what I'm saying.
All right, let's reveal the last bracket if we can. It's the Class A bracket.
We didn't even talk about Bennington, which
by the way, Bennington's the one. Yeah,
we can do A, and then we can come back.
Yeah, we'll come back because we do want to talk about some of the
Yeah.
individuals that we'll see that are of note, and that's really where Mike knows everybody. So here it is for Class A. West Side will take the 1 seed. They will host Westview.
I love it.
And then Millard South is the 2 seed. On the opposite side, they will host Papio South. The right side, the rest of it, Lincoln Southeast hosting Millard North. Kearney will get Millard West out west there on the plains at UNK. Bellevue West will be hosting North Star. And then on the left side of the bracket, you've got Omaha North at home against Lincoln East. Elkhorn South is hosting Prep, so all 3 of the Elkhorn public schools playing at the home stadium on the opening night of the playoffs.
I'm guessing that game will be at 4 o'clock. That's just
that Elkhorn South will be there, and Prep.
Yeah.
Probably at 4. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then Omaha Central is in the playoffs. They will host Papillion La Vista. And again, West Side, Millard South. I know you've talked at length about these 2 teams. Tons of talent, fantastic coaching. It's hard not to see them both in Lincoln, but again, we're going to see some good, fun football outside of those 2 teams as well.
The Central Papio is immediately, it's the 8-9, but that's immediately the one that I saw or look at. It's a rematch. They played a couple weeks ago, if I remember correctly. Yeah, on week 7, and it was 27-7, Central won. So Central's scary, really scary, with Torrey Pittman and Kylan Haney running back. Torrey Pittman is their safety, and he's one of the best safeties in the nation in the sophomore class. So they're very scary. But Papillion La Vista up front, they're big, they're strong. Central has some size too. That one will be at Central. They played at Papillion in week 7. So very intriguing game there.
The schedule helps Central. They've played kind of some playoff
their
teams
district
the last 4
was
weeks.
Easily the hardest one.
They beat Prep, they beat Papio, they beat Millard North all in a row, and then beat Fremont last night. So.
Yeah, and Westside's in that district too. I mean, that district was tough. So that one is kind of intriguing. And then I look at Southeast and Millard North.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Which is, very traditionally, if you think, you would think, oh man, they're just going to pound the ball. No, Millard North doesn't do that anymore. So, but Southeast does, and Boonback is as tough as they come. So that one's very interesting. And Caden Vermas for Millard North can break one on you. They've had a major injury at Millard North and lost, in my opinion, their most versatile player for the year. So that's why there's struggle coming down the stretch. Bell West, Lincoln North Star. How healthy is the quarterback position for Bellevue West is a kind of key there. And Millard West going to Kearney as the 14 can maybe a little dicey, right? That's the one where, like, when it was coming down the stretch, you're like, okay, like, if Millard West gets in, I don't know if I want to play them. Because Millard West, remember, they started 0-4 and won all their district games to finish 5-4. And I just saw them last night. Super well coached, obviously, team with Coach Peterson, and they do a really nice job. And so is Kearney. But going to Kearney is going to be a bit of a challenge there. And Elkhorn South Prep is, I think that'll be another one of those where, like, the ball probably won't go through the air, for a long distance. They both like kind of short passing game stuff to go with some play action. And Omaha North, Lincoln East. Can Omaha North just lean on them, basically, is what we're looking at. And Omaha North had a scare last night with Southwest. But overall, Westside, Millard South have been head and shoulders by a long way more than everybody else.
Yep.
That is the game that everybody wants to see. Everyone that is not Omaha Westside and Millard South on this bracket, everyone that's not them doesn't care, but everyone outside of that wants to see the Westside Millard South game, and both are extremely talented. Millard South is uber talented on offense, no question, and it's a matter of Millard South. Can they get their linebackers? They've lost two. They're not going to get one back. Can they get the second one back in time for maybe the quarterfinals if they can make it that far? So Central's the scary team here out of this bunch. They're extremely talented, and their losses to Bellevue West and to Omaha North was just self-inflicted wound stuff. Yeah. So they're extremely scary.
It'll be fun to watch all of this play out. There's all of the brackets, by the way. We want to take a very short break. We're going to come back with the 8-man brackets. We're going to talk 8-man football. Not new information on the brackets, and all of the games now have times, actually, which we don't even have. We'll have to look that up on the site. But we'll talk 8-man football, and then we'll talk some of the players to watch. We've mentioned a few, but I want to get a little more in-depth on the players to watch. This is Behind the Bracket on StriveSports.com.
At Strive Education, we understand that the world is digital, and that teaching digital media and broadcasting in the classroom can be overwhelming.
That's where we step in. We offer personalized coaching and innovative curriculum, guiding educators to integrate these critical skills into their teaching.
Our programs transform classrooms into future-ready environments, ensuring students are well-equipped for the ever-evolving digital workforce.
To learn more about how we can serve you, go to strive.education today.
It's thanks to you that we're where we are today. We're proud to watch these communities grow because they're our communities too. Our neighbors, our friends, it's where we live. These are all our hometowns. And no matter what, the people who will continue to serve your needs, with the hometown support you know and trust, are just down the street. Cornerstone Bank, growing together.
Welcome back to Behind the Bracket. Eric Allgood, Tony Chapman, Mike Sautter. We have revealed all of the NSAA state football playoff brackets, and we know that every coach has already moved on to prep and moving on to, all right, how healthy were we from last night's games? stuff like
there are
that.
precious few people left watching.
But
is
there
that what
are
you're
just
saying?
a couple people that want to see actually what we have to say about some other
They want that bulletin
teams.
board material on. They probably already got some.
So the players are still watching, and hopefully the 8-man players are watching now because we're going to talk about the brackets. These have been revealed. The round of 32 for D1 and D2 happened on Thursday. Last Saturday, Tony and I revealed those matchups, and we had some good games. We got some wild upsets, though, that made it just a ton of fun. So, Hooj, let's take a look at the D1 bracket, and now we are in officially a bracket. We don't care about East-West split, and we've just got from the points that were locked at the end of the regular season, then you had to win in the round of 32, and then you're slotted right into your point ranking to make this bracket. So in Class D1, like we had talked about last week, Tony, Sandy Creek and Stanton, they are opposite each other, the 1 and the 2 seed. Sand Hills Valley becomes one of the big storylines. They upset, Pleasanton in the round of 32 on Thursday night. So Sand Hills Valley will get a trip to Sandy Creek, and a reminder that our home and away hosting resets in this round for 8-man. So we had the higher seed hosting in the round of 32. We also have the higher seed hosting in this round. Yep. The round of 8 in the following game would follow the more traditional, where you was one team on the road and the other team at host. Then it would flip like that. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah. So Sandy Creek and Stanton, though, the 1 and the 2 seed. Intriguing matchup, as always, in the 8-man ranks. The 8-9 game, Shelby Rising City taking on Arapahoe. Shelby Rising City pounded McCool Junction, who is a pretty decent team, back-to-back weeks, end of the regular season and in the round of 32. Arapahoe gets a late-game stop against Sutton to advance, and so Shelby Rising City will play Arapahoe. Guardian Angel Central Catholic taking on Plainview. Plainview was another upset win in the round of 32, so they get the 13 seed. Dundee County Stratton is the 5 seed. They had no trouble in their first round. Lord Central Catholic will be their opponent.
Short trip for Lords.
Yeah, nothing from Nebraska City out there to Benkelman. Stanton taking on EMF. The Bobcats, they just keep winning. It doesn't matter who's at running back. The Bobcats just
It's a great win against
keep going.
Newcastle the other night.
Yeah. North Platte St. Patrick's will host Bridgeport. Crofton hosting Thayer Central. I watched Thayer Central at Johnson Brock on the Johnson Brock Strive. Thayer Central, Sourdike is a strong runner. So they go up to Crofton, and then you've got South Loop at Summerland. And Tony, I want to get your thoughts here because we wanted Sandy Creek. A lot of people wanted to see Sandy Creek and Stanton opposite. We got that, but boy, we've got a bunch of good games coming up.
I wanted that.
I was just going to say, as much as everyone, like Mike wants Millard South,
I wanted
West
that.
Side,
I wanted this too.
I want that. Mike wants this one too. Sandy Creek Stanton, a great semifinal game last year.
This is the best 8-man game of the year last year.
Yeah, and I think too. I think Mike, you can speak to the talent of Stanton, but like to me, Stanton is maybe one of the most talented, like next level 8-man teams we've seen in a while. And I know Ren Brown might be, to me, Ren Brown is maybe one of the best 8-man linemen. I won't say ever, but like he's pretty darn close up there. And Ethan Shaw is as good as they come. And let me tell you, Sandy Creek, they're coming. They're still coming. I mean, I watched them play Thayer Central. There's like 16 freshmen on that team, and there's a couple of them that are playing right now and sophomores, and they're good. They're legit. And I will say their closest game in the regular season was against Shelby Rising City. Shelby Rising City might have the best defense in 8-man. Really, really good there.
Verbcats, right?
Yeah. A couple of them, I think. And DCS has been really good out west. Ethan Latta kind of just scores touchdowns at a high rate. And I think maybe the team that I will just say I don't know a lot about that I think is really good is Crofton. And I would not be surprised if you see a Crofton-Stanton game, and that was like I think a 44-34 kind of game in the regular season, so they played each other. I think St. Pat's and Bridgeport played each other as well. if I'm not mistaken. So this is a great bracket right here, and Sand Hills Valley is that's a cool story, and
that's a Hoosiers type story, right? That's the little engine that could kind of thing.
It's probably not even as good a story as the next bracket that you are going to flip over.
Right. We'll get to D2 here in just a second, but if we've we can go to let's go to D2.
Yeah, real quick on this. I mean, Sandy Creek is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
And
Coach Kuda is fantastic also.
Yeah, Stanton is very good also. And it's not just Ren Brown, but Barrett Wilkie's had a tremendous career there.
Their skill positions are fantastic.
I will tell you, when I went to both their practices in August. When I was at Sandy Creek, they're like, that Wilkie kid is the best athlete in England. And he'd been praised on him, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of their nemesis now for this year. Arapahoe is a great story. It also stinks they lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
So kind of hurts a little bit there. So that maybe a tough go for Arapahoe in that one.
But still, there will be steak eaten.
Yeah.
At Arapahoe.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the D2 bracket. We did get the 1 and 2 opposite each other. That's Archangels, the team formerly known as Humphrey St. Francis. Opposite of BDS. So Archangels as the 1 seed, BDS as the 2, and it's every single family name you've ever heard from Bruning, Davenport, Shickley. All of those family names still playing. They literally haven't changed. It's all, everybody my age and Tony's age, have the kids in high school right now. We want to talk about like
farm and dad's land.
Farm and dad's land. It is all the same guys doing the same stuff. Overton hosting High Plains, Sand Hills Thedford hosting Axtell. Riverside had a big win over Windside last week, so Riverside hosting Creighton, and then Wynot and Hitchcock County. There's your bus drive.
Wilcox Hildreth.
Right, but there's your bus drive.
There's a story there too,
and
by the way.
Trenton to Wynot. Fire up the Google Maps on that one. Central Valley will host St. Mary's, and then the 8-9 game. This one should be fun. Howells Dodge and Bancroft Rosalie for a chance to potentially take on Archangels.
I just like the Wynot Hitchcock County game is like super far away, and Bancroft Rosalie Howells Dodge. The only way that could get like closer is if Howells Dodge played Clarkson Lee.
Right.
So it's pretty close.
Bring them 8 miles down the road.
This is,
the Flyers, I'm going to call them that, at number 1 seed.
The Defenders.
Yeah, well.
Well.
And Howells Dodge, they played 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
And the Flyers won. But, I'll never bet against Mike Spears as coach team. So that one could be very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Overton's had a nice year too.
They have.
Yeah. And BDS.
And so is High Plains, quite honestly.
Yeah. That game's kind of fun and a little sneaky, I think. So
I'll tell you the saddest or maybe best thing that happened here is Twin Loop. Death taxes Mike Kojal. Right. He's coached a few football games. They somehow, some way beat undefeated Loomis in the first round, and they're to 16. But the other thing this does it completely adjusts the bracket a little bit, because if that doesn't happen, we're looking at Central Valley, Sand Hills, Thedford, who I think our coaches think Mike's our team for 1 and 2.
Yeah.
It puts them in the 4-5 game, and now they're opposite sides of each other, and so I think we've got some really intriguing matchups. And the team that the game that I think could be really interesting if it happens in the quarterfinals is this Riverside Sand Hills Thedford game. I think Riverside is maybe a little better than I thought they were, but I think that's a game that could be real intriguing. Central Valley's been, I think, Mike, number 1 all year in your coaches poll. They have the loss, but it's to Stanton.
Archangels kind of overtook them a little bit, but they were right there. Sand Hills Thedford actually was number 1.
See, I think all 3 of those teams and BDS. I think you pick one out of a hat and they could win it. Why not made the finals last year?
In the coaches poll, it's been Archangels, Central Valley, Sandals Thedford, BDS, all kind of just they've been flipping actually.
Yeah.
Like it's weird.
Flavor of the week.
Yeah, it's been a little different, but
And when you get bracket that looks like that, and you get the teams like you just mentioned, Mike, that have been who played well last night. It's a matter when you get in a playoff run, then who stays healthy and makes the one or two plays that will define a game in the playoffs. So when you say pull them out of a hat. Yeah, that makes it just a little bit more fun.
And Cox, like
he's really good.
Yeah,
he is.
He's really good.
Going to Shadron State.
Yeah, committed there recently. That River. Yeah, if you just look ahead, right? Riverside Sandals Thedford could be really fun.
Yeah.
And a little bit opposite playing styles. Riverside was a little banged up, and then now I think they've gotten a little more healthy. So. It's interesting. BDS just like is this like giant that's always there. They the last couple of years they haven't been, I guess maybe expectations for what they always are, if you will, which make the final and all that. But they're still really good.
The other thing that kind of all these teams between Archangels, as formerly St. Francis, BDS, Sandhills Thedford. Tony, you and I talked about this last week. Those are the types of schools, Howells Dodge is there as well, that these guys that are seniors on this team, they've had an extra season.
Full year of football.
Almost a full year of football practices beyond the regular season. And just when you get younger guys that are doing that as well, so the seniors on this year's team 4 years ago, they're making a run and they're practicing against the guys going into the semifinals. That makes you pretty good.
Yep.
And then by the time you get up there, now you're practicing against that next group coming up. So it really kind of helps those teams to a certain extent if they can keep their numbers. It really keeps them towards the top.
One thing too, like that we haven't talked about, I think it hasn't maybe been talked about a lot, is Archangels. They lost their starting quarterback, which is going to be like 2-year starter Carson Wentz, because of the school, split thing, name change, all that. Like he transferred to SCOTUS.
Yeah.
And they're still the number 1 seed. Like he was a 2-year starter, going to be the 3-year starting quarterback, and like. Here they are. Good. Yeah, here they are.
Here, in that top of that D2, that top right. Eric Kessler.
Yeah.
Mike Kojal, Mike Spears, Bancroft Rosalie, who's been awesome forever, like on their own. Then went with BRLD, and now they're back on their own. Those are like if you were looking at like a 1989 football playoff bracket, and it said St. Francis and Sargent and Howells and Bancroft Rosalie, you'd be like, that's like the semifinals of 8-man, right? Yeah.
And of course, Central Valley is made up of North Loop Scotia, and Greeley. So it's all the same cast of characters to a certain extent.
Self-service optional up there.
Yes. Real quick, let's review our other brackets from today, including the 6-man bracket in Class D6. We see SEM as the 1 seed, Hay Springs as the 2 seed, Silver Lake's the 7. Stewart, really solid, that kind of the dark horse pick on this panel as the 3 seed. Arthur County, with a loss to Hay Springs last night, they go to the 6 seed. On the other side, Red Cloud is the 5, Garden County the 4. Layton and Diller Odell, we thought that one probably wins for longest drive in this first round. Then other brackets that we revealed this morning, the C2 bracket, Norfolk Catholic, Bishop Newman, the 1 and the 2 seed there. Collision course perhaps, but just a ton of great football to be played outside of it. Cedar Catholic is the 7, Battle Creek is the 3, Malcolm the 6, Wood River the 5, Valentine the 4, and Boone Central is the 8 seed. Up into C1, again, Sydney takes the number 1 seed by the points, and Wahoo is the 3 seed. That's the one that got Mike to kind of sit up in his chair a little taller. Ashland Greenwood is the 2 seed. Auburn is the 7. Boys Town is the 6. Central City is the 5, and Lakeview is the 4. The bottom left of that C1 bracket is super intriguing. Lincoln Christian wins the trip to Shadron in the first round, where that will be a fun one to go through. Class B, Bennington is the 1 seed taking on, or will be opposite of Seward, and they're also opposite Omaha Skutt Catholic, who does take the 3 seed. Scottsbluff is the 4. Elkhorn North taking on Elkhorn High. Also, Elkhorn South will be playing. We'll talk about them in a second. So the stadium there at Elkhorn is going to be busy next Friday night. Waverly and Norris will take a center stage, and then a fun one, the fun 2 matchups: Scottsbluff and Gering hosting Gretna and Gretna East. At the across town there, so big bus rides and car trips out for everyone from the metro area.
Those are by far the longest trips.
Yeah,
by about an hour
in Class B.
Yeah.
And then Seward and Pius taking on each other there in that first round. Seward takes the 2 seed coming into the playoffs, and then in Class A, it is going to be Westside and Millard South, who've been at the top of the rankings, whether it's a coaching poll or playoff points all year. They are the 1 and the 2 seeds. Some intriguing players to talk about, though, beyond those guys. And Mike, I want to pick your brain here. We've got some notable guys, obviously, in Westside. We've got a lot of notable guys you mentioned offensively, especially for Millard South. But who are some names that we should make sure that we have jotted down as we watch these teams make their runs?
Yeah, Millard South quarterback Jet Tamala is, yes, he has great receivers or pass catchers, I guess, to throw the ball to, but and Chase Lofton, who's committed to Florida State, by the way, and then Isaac Jensen, who just got an offer from LSU this week, has like K-State and others, and then Marion Jackson, who just got an offer from Northwestern and has a Kansas State offer and an Iowa offer. I mean, their pass catchers are really good. But guys like Amir Hill is another name from Millard South who's had a great year for them. There's a lot of talent there.
That's a lot of names.
Yeah.
Even in Class A, that's a lot of names.
It's a lot. And then Westside on the other side of that, Braylon Warren is coming. He's a sophomore quarterback, and he has an offer from Iowa State, just visited there last week too. That is Steve Warren's son, for those who don't know. And Bryson Williams is Jackson Williams, if you remember him at Millard West and now at North Dakota State, who's returned punts for North Dakota State, number 1 team in FCS. That's his brother, is at Westside. And Tay Jenkins, their little back, he's done a really good job this year. So he's just a sophomore. They're kind of a young team. And then Christian Jones, who's committed to Nebraska, a linebacker for Westside too. But the one guy that I think kind of stirs the drink for Westside is Quentin Warren, 2-way guy, can play some. He's more like an H-back, and then he's also the outside linebacker opposite Christian Jones. So yeah, and then I talked about Central, obviously, with their two guys earlier with Kylon Haney and Torrey Pittman. Haney's a running back, and man, he looks like a young kind of Calvin Jones, just probably because he's in that Central jersey, right? Yeah. And then Torrey Pittman is a stud. I mean, he's a great safety. Papillion La Vista has Isaac Pamran, who is a really nice player, really good athlete, probably one of the better athletes in Class A that doesn't get talked about a lot. Baseball, and really good baseball player, and safety and wide receiver for them. And then Garen Malley, who's committed to Texas Tech, their offensive line. Bryce Vignes is a nice athlete up front for them as well. And Logan Holtmeyer, who is a multi-sport kid, was in the state semifinals or finals last year at heavyweight wrestling as a wrestler. And he's a 3-year starter up front for them at Papillion.
Omaha North's got a decent wrestler.
Yeah, Omaha North, yeah. He's been okay. So, and then, Elkhorn South is, man, like they just keep their system is what it is, and they just keep filling guys in. And they have multiple backs like they've always had. Coach Rosenberg does a really good job. They have probably the oldest coaching staff of anyone in Class A.
Most experienced.
Most experienced.
Don't do that to God.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not even talking about him. And then, Prep getting in, this is now the streak is alive. This is what, 30?
We think it's 30 if we counted them right.
Yeah,
94 was the
29
last
coming into the year.
Yeah, 30 years and make it, and they had to beat Norfolk last night to do it.
Yeah.
So some young kind of talent there, and so kind of a blend. They got to figure out how to complete a forward pass. They just do. And then North, obviously you have Tyson Terry. Not sure he's available. And might not be for the rest of the year unless they make a deep run. And North had a scare last night too. Cannon, their back is really good. Mikey Gow, quarterback's good. But Darian Jones is just a junior, and that is a name to keep an eye on. He's really good. And his brother, Donovan Jones, if you remember Omaha North last year, he's now at Nebraska. That's his brother, is Darian. And Darian's had a great game. I saw them against Bellevue West 2 weeks ago, and he had 2 interceptions. One was a pick 6, and then had about a 35-yard touchdown receiving that just right up the seam and just took it. So there's that. I already talked about Millard South. Southeast and Millard North, we talked about them a little bit, but in names is like Boomback is really good and a 2A guy. And Millard North is Vermas is their kind of stud. Henry Rayberg, like big guy punter, right? Like he's committed to Wyoming as a lineman. He plays tackle and defensive line, and he's also their punter. So he's great. And Carney with Soroshoki is the headliner kind of guy there, committed to K-State.
Carney usually is a no headliner kind of team.
Yeah,
like
they don't really have. I mean, he's just the name, right?
Yeah,
the big name. But
Coach Cool, it's a program, right?
Right.
Like
and
a
then,
lot of guys who will probably play D2 or NAIA football on their team, though.
And then Millard West, Washington last night, running back, had a great night for them. And then Matt Erickson has a Nebraska offer, and he's just a sophomore. He's huge. And then Bellevue West. Caprice Keith is a guy there to keep an eye on. And then Anderson at quarterback, we'll see if he's available or not. He got banged up against Omaha North, and I don't think played last night against Northeast. So, yeah.
Yeah. So those are the Class A guys.
By the way, no notes.
Absolutely nothing.
No notes.
You can go to B if you want.
You can go to hit B. Let's talk about some of these guys.
Say like, though, I mean, I know you could go B a lot, but like if you just said that B to C2, I think people know Connor Booth and they know the Bennington guys, but maybe who would be like I think of like Jace Reynolds at Elkhorn North is probably one of the.
It has offers, right? Jace Reynolds is a guy with offers there. And Gretna's quarterback, Mike Knutson, can really sling it. He's young. It's kind of his turn next. And then they're up front. Why am I drawing a blank? They got 3 big linemen. Drawing a blank on names here. Oh, gosh. Griffin Goldman is one of the linemen. 2 other guys, I apologize. Off the top of my head, can't remember. Bennington, Kyler Lortzen. Here's a story. Like, 3-time state champ wrestler. He's one of the best defenders, if not best defensive player in the state as far as high school football players. I'm talking any class. I don't care. If they can make a run here, he would be 3 years in a row of over 100 total tackles and over double-digit tackles for loss, which is incredible. Wow. Right? That's incredible. So, and Jack Jansen for Bennington up front. If you remember the state championship game last year, he wrecked Omaha Skutt like single-handedly. So we talked about Seward when we revealed the bracket a little bit. Scottsbluff, we talked about Nate Kelly and what he's done. Talk about athlete, right? We've done that.
The running back is really good, and I saw him week 1, so I don't remember his name, but he's a really good. He reminds you a lot of the backs that they've always had previously.
Waverly, running back Waverly. Axman. He's back healthy. Right, they
huge game against Norris 2 weeks ago.
They ran I think he had like over 30-some carries in that game, and he's back, right?
Yep.
He missed a lot of time at the beginning of the year. But Scott when you think of Scott, you think of like Veer and just run the ball. No, not this team, right? Not this team. Joe Kaliga is probably should if he should very much so get consideration for, if not be on like your Super State, All Nebraska, whatever teams as a receiver. He's had a huge year. And I'm saying like not just Class B. I'm talking all of it. So,
but like kicks, plays defense.
Field
like
goal,
does he drive the bus? Like when
kick,
they have
field goal, and and then Van Dyke at quarterback is slinging it around. I mean, for
you
them.
liked him for
yeah. I liked him last year. I should have played more. So that's a thing, right? Like those are sort of some of the names you can see in Class B or names to keep an eye on. We talked about Seward.
Desmond Smith is the
Desmond
running
Smith.
back at Scottsbluff.
And again, we talked about Seward and that. And then actually 2 good quarterbacks in that Pius game. So Pius and Seward. So Treston Haas and Colby Volkmer, who's committed to Wayne State. So, that's an intriguing quarterback matchup there.
Flip it to C1. Like 2-3 guys on C1, Mike, you would.
Yeah, I mean, we
talked about Boys Town.
Darren Whitaker is he's special and just different. I mean, he's awesome.
I know you.
You'll
have the names for me, but maybe 2 of the best linemen in the state. One at Lakeview, one at Ashland Greenwood.
Lakeview, I can't. 54. Why can't I think of his name?
My bad.
When I was at that practice, he's just a sophomore too. He's coming.
Yeah.
I have it written down at home actually, but it's I apologize. I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. I should have had more prepared notes. And then Lakeview there, and then Wahoo hair. Jake Scanlon is the Wahoo lineman. Remember, he's got that like flowy hair. 2A guy, right? Tough, kind of. He just looks like I'm just gonna knock you down, I guess.
I have a lot of. I mean, their line is like.
They're all kind of the same.
They are. What I always say, they look like if they put like Midland jerseys on, like it wouldn't like. You know what I mean? If they put Midland or probably not Morningside, but like they look like a G-Pack kind of line. Like they could all go play at Hastings or Midland or Concordia, and none of those coaches would be sad that they were playing there. So,
I'm getting that name.
Really interesting.
Me.
Really good teams. Quinn Bailey. Did we mention Quinn
Bailey?
Bailey?
We mentioned Quinn Bailey.
Really good runner.
Good
game might take less than 2 hours.
Yeah,
I mean, if both coaches had their way.
It's going to take Lincoln Christian longer to get there. Scotts Bluff.
I did Google Map some stuff while you guys were yapping. So the Gretna Scotts Bluff thing is obviously the longest. Those are in the near 8 hour, 7.5. 6:27 for Lincoln to Shadron.
Yeah.
But that Hitchcock County only 5.5 hours. Guys.
Oh well.
It's only and Diller to Gurley is only. About 5:35.
Okay. Well, that's not near so.
The lineman for Lakeview, the sophomore, Luke Wellman.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, that's the name. So like him a lot. He's very
get
intriguing.
out in the Panhandle too, you people. And it's probably not supposed to be, but Maverick is the greatest convenience store chain in America. So like I'm just telling you, like when you get to Big Springs and Sydney and Scotts Bluff, you got the Maverick. Just make sure you get your. Also fill up with gas before you head out. It's a little more expensive out there. I don't know why. There's a great quick shop in Bridgeport too. I found all these.
And
last week.
It's right on the corner, man.
Yeah, it's right on the corner.
Right
going
as you
there.
turn.
Yeah, Ollie's Big Game in
Bridgeport.
Paxton. Yeah, there you go.
Always had to make a stop out there.
Yeah.
Final thoughts as we get ready for we've got postseason volleyball that starts up.
Mike,
on
where are
Monday.
you going Friday? You just look at them really quick. Like, what do you think?
Oh man,
Elkhorn. You're going to Elkhorn.
I like to go to as many when it comes to playoff time. I like to get to as many places as I can. So I need to see the times first. Like what if there's
everything's going to be at 7.
If there's a 3 or a 4 or whatever. I'll hit the 3 for a half and then go to the 4 for a half and then go to a 7.
Only one Millard game, which is not usual.
And that was something, I kind of did some checking before because Halloween is Thursday, and with my young kids, my wife wasn't so sure if I was going to be able to go to a football game on Thursday night.
Football games.
No, I don't have
Thursday
to worry
night.
about it.
Yep,
Yeah,
you're good.
So that Elkhorn North, Elkhorn High might probably be where I end up. If not, Papillion and Omaha Central. I think that one in a first round kind of game is very intriguing. So
I'm highly intrigued by this. We had a photographer at Donphan Trumbull Wood River last night, and now that we have that direct rematch, I might go. I stayed away from football last night and hung out and celebrated, but I might.
Wahoo DC West could be. I mean, DC West kind of thought they were.
DC West played some Wahoo. Just wow, that score probably jumps out to me more than anything, given what DC West did with Ashland Greenwood and a few other teams, and how they had in the playoffs last year, and like 50-0 was. And when I saw Wahoo against Aurora, it was. Whew.
If I'm going to a C2 game, I would probably go to Aquinas Battle Creek.
Yeah, that'd be. Yep.
It'd be quick.
Cedar Catholic, Oakland Craig would be.
Yeah, that
would
one
be right there
is
too.
An option.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wouldn't probably be as quick.
No.
Joe and Braylon going to sling it a little bit.
That's okay. Yeah, I should have gave a shout to him. He's good.
Yeah.
Like Braylon Anderson at Oakland Craig, which I should have talked about him. That's my fault. He's good. He runs the show, does everything for him. When they played Malcolm, he was awesome. He can sling it too. So National Honor Society kid too.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Postseason for everybody. Golf's done. Softball's done. Cross country yesterday.
Tennis.
That a new thing for you, Tone, with the cross country family. That was
it's an old thing now.
It's an old thing now, but the new experiences, and of course the brackets all revealed, and now we're into the round of 16 coming up next Friday. Our sincere thank you to Nate Newhouse, Jeff Stouse here at the NSAA office for, first of all, letting us in the building to do this and to allow us to reveal these brackets. Mike and Tony, we all kind of gather here once a year, so we appreciate your guys' efforts. Hoosiers producing this week, which is a lot better than having me produce and host last week. So
way better.
Thank you. That was my fault last week.
Between softball and CRC volleyball, we could only have so many people in so many places. So I'm just glad Hoosiers are around today. So my name's Eric. Thanks for joining us this week on Behind the Bracket. Good luck to all the teams. Safe travels wherever you're heading, and some of you are definitely going to be traveling. So be well, and we'll see you in Lincoln for the end of the brackets.